this training is all about educating the hands. So the hands can move in 3 locations, or the wrists. So when your hands are pointed straight at the camera here, on a horizontal plane, they can be flat, they can bend, and they can arch. So you need to practice and understand the difference here. This is a flat, this is bent, and this is arched. And when we look at perpendicular to the ground, this hand can be level, it can cock up and uncock. So it can cock up and uncock. And so when we get to this cocking and uncocking, it's going to roll through to arched. And then rotationally, they can move in 3 stations. They can be vertical, they can turn back, and they can roll through. Most of you, when you come here and you take it back, which you're going to turn it back and cock, you uncock and get to a nice arch position, but you never roll. You never roll back to square. And what I mean by that is you're coming through here like this, and this hand is pointing this way, so it never rolled to square. And so for you to get to this quickly, you're going to have to over-roll it in the training. You're going to have to uncock and roll your hand. You're going to roll, which closes the club face. You can see the club face is really closed. And a lot of you, whether you're doing the pitching motion where you bend the lead wrist, or you do the chipping motion, that's great. But if you never roll it through back to square, the club face is wide open. You can see the top of my left hand is pointing still to the sky on an angle, and it's not pointing to the target. If I had a watch on here, this would be bowed towards the target. My watch would be pointing to the target, and then the face would be square. So you're going to have to understand that there's a horizontal plane where it's flat, bent, and arched. So we can come through here and I can bend the wrist, which is a pitching motion, means the club face is going to be more vertical. If it's arched, the club shaft is forward shaft lean, and that keeps it low. That's the low chip shot, or the low distance wedge, or the perfect full swing. It's going to be arched, but it's not going to be pointing to this top of the left wrist cannot point out this way. It has to point to the target, and so you're going to have to point your palm to the sky to really train that, since right now your palm, back of your hand is pointing upward. In order to get to square, you're going to have to over-roll it, and the best way to do is uncock and roll. Uncock and roll. Now you can see that my wrist, the back of it's pointing down, the top of the palm is pointing up. So we want to be careful. It doesn't matter if we're doing a chipping motion. You can see that my face is open, so let's turn and let's roll this past horizontal. So when you're doing this is no good. The face is open and this is pointing to the sky. We need to roll it. So just from this position, just roll it. Hold it for 5 seconds and train it. Now, when the right wrist bends and it also turns back, if you're doing a chipping motion, it's going to stay bent, but we're going to need to roll it. We need to roll it. And you can see here when I do this and I roll it, that face is square, and my hand is back to here, not this way. So the palm's not going to point to the camera, it's going to point to the target. The palm's going to point to the target. So educating the hands and wrists is the most critical piece to accuracy and consistency. So when we're looking from the horizontal plane, the wrist can be flat, and then it's going to bend, and it can bend again, or it can bend and arch. Bend, arch. But you'll notice as I turn my hand back, I'm always rolling it back to square. And if you're not square yet, the quickest way to get to square is to overtrain it, over-roll it. Roll it over, roll it over, roll it over, and then roll it over with a club in your hand. You're basically taking this forearm and turning the forearm, you're turning the hand, you're rolling it. And if you don't roll it, well, then you're just like this, face is wide open, and this is pointing to the sky. So if you see the camera here, the face is open, your hand's pointing to the sky, but then from this position, just roll it. And then hold it there, and then come back down, and you'll see the back of the hand is actually turned down a little bit. So we got flat, bent, and arched. We got cocking, uncocking, cocking, uncocking. We got level, cocking, uncocking. We got level, cocking, uncocking, downward. And then we're gonna turn it back and roll it through. But if you turn it back and you don't roll it through, then you can see that this is pointing to the sky, this is pointing to the sky, and we need to roll it back to square. And to get here quickly is to overtrain it by doing this. Just keep rolling this. Roll it. Roll it. And it doesn't matter if I'm doing a pitching motion. This is still going to be back of the hand is pointing to the target, not this way. So even if I do that, I can see. But when it comes to the chipping motion, it's critical that you roll your hands. You roll your hands. You're going to roll your hands so that the face is square, not open. If it's open, that means the top of your left wrist, the right-handed golf, is pointing upward. And it needs to point so you can simply just roll it and exaggerate, turn it back and rolling it through. Just roll it over, roll it over, roll it over. Educating the wrist. Horizontal to the ground. It's flat, bent, and arched. Perpendicularly, it's cocking, uncocking, cocking, uncocking. And then rotationally, it's turning back and rolling through. So if I cock it and I turn it back, I can uncock it and roll it through to an arch position. I can uncock it, roll it through to a bent position. Either way, the back of the left hand, the back of the lead hand must be pointing towards the target, not skyward or angled. Pointing to the target. Back of the left hand, pointing to the target. Back of the left hand, pointing to the target. And if you can't get it pointing to the target, and you're over here, pointing out towards here upward, the quickest way is to just overtrain it by rolling it, just twisting the club head and rolling it over. Rolling it over, and you can see it's super close, and my palm is pointing to the sky, the back of the hand is pointing to the ground. So take some time, watch this training, and digest and comprehend what the hands are going to be doing, and train. And if you really want to take advantage of this 12 weeks of training, it's imperative that you show up every single week for a coaching call to where I'm going to demonstrate for 10 minutes and you're going to train for 30 minutes. You're going to train and you're going to do what I've been doing the last 8 minutes of this training. You're going to do this in front of me and I'm going to make sure you're doing it correctly and fix it on the spot. The quickest way to drop 10 strokes in 90 days is to show up every single week for coaching calls, and in between coaching calls is to do the training in front of a camera or in front of a mirror and master educating the hands, zone 3. Master educating your shoulders, your arms, and your torso, zone 2. And then mastering your feet, knees, and hips, zone 1. Zone 1, you must use the lower body. You must train the power package in the arms, shoulders, and chest. And you must educate your hands. So you guys have a wonderful weekend. Get on my calendar. Everybody has my Zoom link, and if you're not showing up, then how badly do you want to shoot par? If you show up every single week and do training with me live after you've done training and done it, we can get 10 strokes dropped quickly. Some of you need to drop 15, 20, 30 strokes. Get on my calendar.